Hi, this is Saransh again. The following interview is that of a profitability case about a petrol pump. This case really highlights the importance of asking the right preliminary questions at the start. We also see how useful it is to develop MECE frameworks to find the root cause of a problem. I hope you find the case useful. Hi, Hardik. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm great.
Alright, so let's get started with your case. Our client is a petrol pump owner and he's hired us to investigate the recent decline in his profits.
All right. So, what sort of business is he into? Does he is he a petrol pump distributor?
So he owns a petrol pump. He has around 50 petrol pumps in different parts of the country, and whatever profits he makes from it, that's his business essentially.
So he sources the crude oil.
Yeah, he procures the oil, the petrol, and the diesel that he sells at his pump. Yes.
Okay, all right. From the refineries.
Yeah, there are manufacturers of refined petrol and diesel, and
All right.
you purchase that with them in bulk, and then you can stock it in your pump. And then, as customers come in, cars, trucks, etc., you sell it to them.
All right. All right. So I would like to say that this is, since it's a decline in profits.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to start by analyzing each of these separately. So the the revenues. So has the number of has the price of petrol uh, fluctuated in the recent past?
The price of petrol has more or less remained the same, the price at which we sell.
All right. So uh, then it must be the number of consumers that have declined.
The number of customers, in fact, have declined, yes.
So are there other players in this industry? There must be.
Um, yes, I mean, there are other petrol pump owners as well, yes.
So has the revenues of all of these? Is it an industry-wide problem?
Not really. Across the country, all petrol pumps seem to be doing just fine.
All right.
The candidate has not done a MECE breakdown of the revenues. Assuming that fuel was the only source of revenue, what he should have done is break it down as average number of customers multiplied by average volume per customer multiplied by average price per liter. The candidate has also missed out an important question. He should have asked about which of the 50 petrol pumps is seeing a profitability decline. That would have allowed him to uncover that just one out of the 50 petrol pumps is seeing this problem.
So is it that we are producing the same amount of petrol as before?
As in, we are procuring the same amount, yes.
All right. So uh, I think since we can break it down to procurement, distribution, and distribution. So are the distribution centers that we are at?
Our distribution center is essentially the petrol pump.
Okay. So like, all right. So I'll go into costs for a little bit. So what are the primary costs of this petrol pump, as in for fixed and variable costs?
So, we've got the fixed investment that we made while establishing the petrol pump. That was around, you can take it to be about 25 lakhs per petrol pump. And apart from that, we also had variable costs.
So, do we have any?
But just wanted to get your sense, Hardik, that what is your hypothesis right now? Why do you want to look at the cost branch?
I would like to look at whether the cost incurred for us has gone up in these years.
Right. So, in fact, we do have that information already. So, we know that our costs haven't increased significantly. They've, in fact, gone down slightly.
All right.
We see here that the candidate has hit what he thinks is a dead end. So, he moves back up and starts analyzing the cost branch. Ideally, when he broke profit as revenue minus cost, he should have asked the question of whether the revenues have gone down or the costs have increased. That would have allowed him to eliminate the cost branch of the analysis when he was given the information that costs have in fact not increased, and then could have continued to just focus on the revenue side of the analysis.
Uh, so, is it that what kind of petrol, what kind of products do we sell? Is there a segmentation?
Essentially, petrol and diesel.
Okay. So, what is the sales volume for petrol and diesel? Do you have any idea?
So, roughly 60% petrol, 40% diesel.
Okay. So, uh, what is the margin for each of these?
The margin, you mean in terms of the profit per
Per
liter? So you can say roughly 35 rupees per liter for petrol and around 25 rupees for diesel.
All right. So, the competitors in this segment, do we know? Do we have any information?
They have a
about-
similar split between petrol, diesel, and even the profit margins are similar.
All right. Uh, so, is there any other business that we are involved in as a petrol pump?
Primarily, this is our business.
So, uh,
So, in fact, what we've seen is that of the 50 petrol pumps that we have, the major sales decline has been from one of them, and that is located on the Delhi Chandigarh highway.
okay. Uh, so, my hypothesis in this case would be that, like, in Delhi, the problem is localized to Delhi Chandigarh.
The candidate has just received important information regarding the case. Ideally, he should have taken a pause to assimilate the information to try and see how it impacts the next steps for his analysis. However, he feels the pressure to respond immediately to the interviewer, as a result of which he no longer has a structured approach for solving the case. During the case interview, it's perfectly fine to tell the interviewer that you would require a couple of minutes to structure your thoughts to decide how to proceed forward.
And
Right.
so, like, uh, is it that like all the petrol that we are procuring and storing here is being distributed to the customers?
So we have seen a reduction in sales. Previously, we were able to have a faster inventory cycle. As soon as we used to stock, we used to sell off the product immediately. But now that has slowed down because customers have started coming in more slowly and more infrequently.
Okay, so uh, do we know of other companies in the same business who are operating in the Delhi Chandigarh?
So on the Delhi Chandigarh highway, there are about 2-3 petrol pumps apart from us as well.
Okay, so have they seen a similar trend?
Yeah, they've seen a similar decline.
All right. So now I'll hypothesize that the I think it's the number of consumers that are reducing in that highway. So
Right.
uh, one of the reasons may be that road travel is is in fact reducing, and people are going for other modes of travel.
Okay.
Possibly, uh, do we know like what are the what Delhi Chandigarh highways basically used for the most part?
So you have all types of usage. You have people who want to visit uh, from Delhi to Chandigarh for professional reasons. You have lots of cargo that is put onto trucks and then that gets transported across roads. You have lots of tourists as well coming from Chandigarh to Delhi and vice versa.
Okay. So do we have any segmentation on how different how how different these people using this road are using this corridor are, like transportation and
So we don't have the
tourism?
split available in terms of how many passenger cars are used and how many passenger trucks are coming to us. But we do have a split available in terms of the revenue split of diesel and petrol.
Okay. So what is that exactly?
So 60% of our sales comes from petrol and 40% comes from diesel.
All right. So it's similar for Delhi, Chandigarh as well.
Yes.
So has any of these seen more of a decline?
Yes, so almost the entirety of our decline has been from petrol segment, while diesel has more or less remained the same.
Okay. So is this to an industry-wide?
We're not sure about the exact numbers for our
Competitor.
competitors, but we do know that they've seen a reduction in their sales as well.
Right. So it's possible that our consumers needs have changed, that they probably have shifted to diesel because of diesel being the more economic mode of travel, like more economic fuel.
Mhm.
So
But if that was the case, shouldn't have diesel revenues increased? If it was only a case of customers switching from petrol to diesel. When trying to identify a potential root cause of a problem, it's best to do a MECE breakdown of it. By MECE, we mean mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. In this case, the candidate identifies that there is a reduction in petrol sales only. He then goes on to hypothesize that this can be happening because of petrol customers moving to diesel. That is only one of the possible reasons. Ideally, he should have said that there could be many reasons why people are not coming to purchase petrol. Either the total traffic between Delhi and Chandigarh cities has reduced, or there are new modes of transportation that passengers are preferring to use, or there is a new alternative route by road that has become available, or on the same road, people are shifting from petrol to other fuel sources. This would have been a MECE breakdown of the problem, and then each of these hypotheses could be validated by asking for the right kind of data.
yeah. So So I'll actually check my hypothesis. Okay. So have there been any changes in the laws in Delhi, Chandigarh?
Not really.
Alright. So so do we see that like the amount of petrol that uh, the amount of petrol, there's no wastage or there's no loss during transportation to these petrol pumps?
What's your hypothesis out there?
The hypothesis is that maybe it's being stolen.
Right, but that wouldn't really affect our revenue, right? It would affect our cost because of loss of uh, petrol,
Yeah.
and we know that our costs have remained.
It's probably
the same.
it's the number of consumers that have changed.
Yeah, so we know number of consumers have reduced,
Yeah.
but in terms of the availability of
it's
petrol,
there's
that's
been,
that's not an issue.
all right. Okay, so number of consumers uh, for petrol for Delhi, Chandigarh have reduced. So I'd like to break down the number of consumers into some segments uh, like big large vehicles and smaller vehicles, where large vehicles would include buses and trucks, and smaller vehicles would include cars and scooters,
Okay.
three wheelers. So uh, the larger vehicles would be more of often consumers of diesel, I presume,
Yeah, that's a fair assumption.
and the smaller vehicles would be consumers for petrol.
Right.
So is it that the Delhi Chandigarh highway has seen a reduction in the number of cars and like more of transport
Yeah, I
purposes?
think the data seems to indicate that, and that's generally been an observation that we've had when we look at the highway as well.
Alright. So
This was a good demonstration of connecting data to insight. The candidate managed to connect that because petrol is typically consumed by smaller vehicles, it's vehicles like passenger cars which might have seen a reduction in traffic on the highway.
right. So my hypothesis would be that the so people who used to travel through these modes of transport have switched to other modes, like probably switching from roads to air travel or railways.
So, what information would you need to test that hypothesis?
I would like to see if the air travel has recently seen a flourish.
That's actually an interesting point. So we have seen an opening of a new flight route from Delhi to Chandigarh and vice versa. And as a result of that, we know that a lot of customers have started using that mode of transport.
All right. So I think I think we should probably see and try to get data about the change over the years, the increase, the year on year increase that this flight route, flight corridor has seen, and you know and compare it with the decline that we have seen to see if those numbers match, and
All right. So I think Hardik, this is a good approach. So we'll take your suggestions forward. Why don't you give us a synthesization of the case so far?
all right. So the company has seen a decline of profits overall, and these have been a major part of this has been localized to this Delhi Chandigarh highway. And since most of our since there's a 60-40 distribution of our sales based on volume, uh, for petrol and diesel. So we can see that the consumers for petrol are smaller vehicles and people using those modes for using the road for travel, for intercity travel. And the numbers seem to indicate that intercity travel by individual customers, that has declined. So
All right,
it seems to
thanks.
indicate that.
I think that's fine. Yeah, we can conclude the case here. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. In conclusion, let's look at learnings from the case. In terms of positives, the candidate managed to use data to find the insight about how smaller vehicles like cars are the ones that are typically not using the highway. In terms of areas of improvements, the candidate could have asked better preliminary questions. He could have also followed the pyramid rule while drilling down his profitability structure. His breakdown of a problem into its component parts could be more messy going forward. It's also always recommended to test your hypothesis with data. In this case, the candidate thought that petrol users might be switching to diesel, but he did not check whether diesel revenues were increasing correspondingly. The candidate could also have benefited by taking more pauses to structure his thought before communicating with the interviewer. His final synthesis also needed improvements in terms of having a more top down structure of a recommendation followed by supporting reasons. The candidate can also be more neat on paper.